not recommend. Alright guys, so the first thing you need is some clay. I'm using some Super Sculpey just because I want a hard copy when I'm done, but you can use any sort of water-based, oil-based clays that you have. Once you have your clay, you're going to need some sort of base. I'm using this one that I made myself. It's just a little bit of Sculpey on the bottom that I baked for about an hour so it's rock hard. But if you are using some water or oil-based clay, you might want to use something like this. It's just a board with a dowel inserted into the middle of it. Then, once you do have your base, you're going to want to take a small cylinder-shaped portion of clay and slip it right onto the base. Okay, once you have some clay on there, you're going to want to start blocking out the basic shape of the tongue. Obviously, you'll want the tip to be a lot skinnier than the base, and then bring all the edges down much thinner, like a real tongue would be. Now that it looks something like this, we're going to take any sort of loop tool that you have, and you're going to lightly scrape across the surface of the tongue. This will get rid of any more bumps that there are and just help start smoothing out the surface. So now I have the tongue pretty much the shape I want it to be. I've even already carved out a small indentation on what's going to be the back side, like the underside of your tongue would actually have. And now that we've done that, I'm going to take some rubbing alcohol and spray a little bit of that in there. And I'm going to use my fingers first to just start rubbing it, and this will further smooth out the surface. You can also take a paintbrush that you have, and this is another good way to just get rid of any excess clay and just smooth the whole surface out. Because the back side of the tongue is already really smooth, and we want to mimic that as much as possible. Once the alcohol has evaporated, I'm just going to take a small snake of clay like this and apply it next to the little indentation we made. If you look at the bottom of your tongue, you'll notice that there are veins on each side of it, and this is how we're going to replicate that. Once you've put it on there, you can take your loop tool again and just blend it into the surface. When you're done, it should look a little something like this, like a little vein on there. And then you're just going to want to repeat that process on the opposite side of the indentation, and then just use some more alcohol to smooth it out as much as you can, like the bottom of your tongue would actually be. Now that we've done that, we're going to flip the tongue over and start working on the texture on the top of your tongue. If you look at your tongue, you'll notice lots of bumps, all the little taste buds, so I'm just going to take this messed up nail brush. You can take any brush you have, and I'm just going to push it into the surface and then pull it up, and this is just going to give it a really rough texture like your tongue has. And then you can even put some indentions, some little cuts and stuff, because no one's tongue is perfect. They're actually really disgusting when you look at them. You want to recreate that texture as realistically as you can. Now, if you used Sculpey like me, you're going to want to bake it in the oven at about 250 for an hour or so. This is going to make it nice and hard, and it will retain all the details that you put into it without risking you messing them up anytime you touch it. And now you'll also be able to take as many molds of it as you would like. In preparation for molding our tongue, I'm just going to put a little hot glue on the base, and then I'm just going to attach it to this wooden board I have, and then I'm going to take some water-based clay, but you can use any that you have again, and I'm just going to put it right around the bottom just to make a nice flat-ish base for the mold. So now you're going to take any brush that you don't really care about, a chip brush or anything, and take some liquid latex and brush a thin coat over the entire tongue. Make sure you get it into all the little crevices. You're going to do this over the entire thing, and of course you're going to want to get it all over the base and then make sure you flip it over and get the entire back side as well. Once you've done this, you're going to want to let the liquid latex dry. It's going to take a while, so you might want to put a fan on it to just speed up the process. And once it has dried, you're just going to go back again with some liquid latex and put another coat on it and let it dry. You're going to repeat this process 10 to 20 times. I believe I put 13 or 14 layers of liquid latex, and when it's done, it should look a little something like this. Kind of yellow, can't really see through it anymore. Now, to remove the mold, you're just going to start at the bottom and carefully peel it off of the base. Then you're going to want to take any baby powder or any powder you have really and just dust the entire thing, because if not, the latex will stick to itself and your mold will be ruined. Then you're just going to start at the base again and slowly start to peel the mold off of your tongue. Being very careful, especially if you used some sort of water-based clay or anything, that you don't mess up the mold. You're just going to pull and powder and pull and powder until the thing comes completely off. Now when it comes off, it's probably going to be inside out and look kind of funny, so just using your fingers and a paintbrush, flip it right side out, and now you're ready to cast it. I'm going to be using gelatin, so first we're going to need some glycerin, which you can get at any supermarket or pharmacy, and of course you're also going to need some unflavored gelatin, which you can get at any grocery store. You're going to first measure out your ingredients. I'm going to take about half a cup of water and add that to half a cup of the unflavored gelatin, and then add about 1/4 cup of the glycerin to. This is going to make a fairly large batch, so you can use any size ratio that you think would be best. Now I'm just going to start mixing these 3 ingredients together. When I'm done, it should look a little something like this. Now we're going to put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds. You don't want to put it in for much longer than that, because if you do, it'll start to boil and that'll break down the gelatin. After about 10 seconds, this is what it looks like. It's still not completely cooked, so we're going to put it back in. After about 4 times, it's very thin and runny and it looks something like this. Now to color it, you can take any foundation you have, liquid, cream, and you're just going to take a little bit of it and add it to the hot gelatin. You might have to heat the gelatin up a little bit more to mix it in. The hotter the gelatin is, the easier it is to mix the foundation is. So now we have this light flesh tone colored gelatin, which still doesn't look tongue colored. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this and put it into a smaller bowl, and I'm going to add some drops of fake blood. You can use food coloring, but it's a lot harder to control the amount of red you get. So I'm just going to put a few drops of fake blood and then start mixing that together until I get this nice pink fleshy tongue color. Once you've made your gelatin, you just want to take your mold and take your gelatin mixture, and you're just going to pour a little bit of it into the mold. And once you've done this, in order to make a sort of hollow tongue, you're just going to roll the mold around and around and make sure the gelatin sets on the sides rather than all in one spot. You're going to do this for about 10 to 15 minutes until the gelatin stiffens up on its own, and then you're going to want to put it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. After that, your gelatin tongue should be stiff enough to take out of the mold. So you're just going to slowly start to turn the mold inside out, and then grab the tongue and just slowly pull it out. And now you have yourself a long, nasty looking tongue. Now we just want to color it up a little bit so it looks more realistic. You could use some alcohol activated paints or some aqua color paints, whatever you have, but for the purpose of this video I'm really just going to use some fake blood. First I cut it down a little smaller just so it looks a bit more realistic, like someone cut it out. And I take some fake blood and I just paint it on the end where it would have been cut off from. And then I take some water and I just spray it on there, because obviously if you just took it out of someone's mouth, it's going to be pretty wet. So now you have yourself a fairly realistic looking tongue. You could use it as a Halloween decoration, a regular decoration, scare your mom, or you could even use it in a short video like this. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with all your friends and family or anyone who enjoys tongues. And make sure you stay tuned next week to see how I did this and to find out what happens next to our poor victim and her evil tormentor. Alright guys, thank you for watching. See you later.